What's going on, guys? We're getting ready to do a quick video on Lacinato kale. I've made some kale before, but it's usually just regular kale. And actually, I didn't really know that kale had different types and varieties, which I should have known that, but I saw this in the grocery store and I figured kale was kale, but this actually has a different type of taste. And follow me through, and you may want to try this at home. Alright, this is our Lacinato kale. See, it looks a little bit different. The texture is different. You know what? It's also called dinosaur kale. And I can kind of see that though. You know, look at that. Does that not look like the scales on Godzilla? Godzilla has those little bumpy things on his skin and things like that. I mean, that's just probably the geek in me, but that's kind of what it reminds me of. So, you know, a lot of folks have been taking the stem, which is this little portion here, out of the kale, but they say that's where most of the nutrients are. So we're going to do this a little bit differently. We're going to remove the stems, but we're going to cook them so that we don't have to cook the leafy part. Like most of your green leafy vegetables, you're going to rinse these things off and kind of wash them real good. I may not show it a lot, but most of these things that come like this, I always rinse them off and make sure that there's no extra things floating in them. You also want to go ahead and preheat you some butter or some oil, olive oil. This right here actually happens to be some ghee, clarified butter. So we're just preheating that. Alrighty, I removed the stems, and there are the leaves right there. Now it sounds like a whole bunch of work, y'all, you know, but I think the last time I cooked these, I just pretty much cooked this part right here. I've read a lot of articles saying that this is where most of the nutrition is. So I'm going to cook these first, then I'm going to add these to them, so I don't have to cook these as long and still maintain the flavor. Now, so that they are a little bit more manageable, I've cut them into like thirds or into fourths. So I hope this thing is focused. I'm kind of doing this on my tablet instead of my phone. Now we're going to add the stems to our meat. We're not going to put any seasoning in there yet. We're just going to soften these things up. And I figure they'll soften up in about 5-10 minutes. Alrighty, our kale stems have been in there about 15 minutes. At 10 minutes, they weren't really that tender. So I let them cook a little bit longer, and I added a little bit of chicken broth to them. Now we're going to go over here. We're going to add some onions and let them cook the way through. Keep cooking the way through. We got a heaping tablespoonful of garlic, and this is just some homemade dill pickle cubes that I made last month here. So we added the onions. We're going to let those saute a little bit until they're glistening. We added the garlic as well. We're not going to add the dill pickle cubes until last because they're really already, you know, they're already cooked or they're already pickled. So we want to get the onions to be nice and glistening. And then the last thing we'll add is the kale. Alrighty, now that our onions have become translucent, which means they're kind of, you can't really see through them, but you want them to be, you know, not all white looking like they were before. Now we can add our dill pickle cubes. And then you can start adding your spices to it. Usually I add just a bunch of different types of spices. To this I'll add a mixture of some garlic and onion and salt and pepper. Okay, I added some basil and some dried parsley. Again, I used the salt and pepper, garlic and onion powder as well, and then we're going to add about a couple of tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. Now you can also add some honey in there as well too, if you wanted to have a little bit of a sweetness. We're not really doing it this time here, but you can do that. And then you add your greens to it. Now, it doesn't look like much, guys, but it comes out tasting really, really good. And the onions will give it your natural sweetness anyway. Okay, I added my kale. If you notice, I missed one of my little stalks right here. So this is gonna prove the point of why you cook the stalks first. Then we're gonna add some chicken broth. You can just add some regular water if you want to, but you want something to kind of flavor it. So we're gonna add some chicken broth, about a cup or so. I don't measure it, so you just want it to kind of boil down. It looks like a lot, guys, but this right here is going to boil down to almost, I'm not going to say nothing, but it's going to boil down to a very small amount. We got it on medium. We're going to let that cook for about 10 minutes or so. Alrighty, it's been about 10 minutes. And see how it's all, see, this is the color we want it to be. We want the darker green, the lighter green is what we want. So the darker green means it's not cooked like it's supposed to be. Now, some people eat it just like this. I like mine to be a little bit more cooked, so it's gonna be another, but see how little we have? It's gonna be another 10 minutes or so on this here. And you can sit here and stir this stuff constantly. I actually leave it and let it cook, and then I come back and check on it. Maybe that's lazy, but you know, I got things to do, y'all. I got things to do. Alrighty, let's take a look at it now. Look at it now. Everything is uniform in color. That's the way you want it to be. Now see that stem right there? That stem right there is nothing like the other stems. That's going to be kind of a tough stem right there, because the other stems, if you look at them, they're kind of dark. But we'll make it work. We'll just have to eat that stem separately. But that's basically how you do it, guys. Nothing real hard about this. Very simple recipe, very healthy. You can make it, you can not cook it as long, but I like mine at this consistency. And in the end, you got good roughage and you'll have a nice poop the next day. Y'all have a good one. Peace.